Is debt good or bad? This is an extremely common question. I hear it all the time. It's something I hear personal finance people talking about all the time. And it is a really good question because today's society and our economy is in many ways designed around debt, whether it's student loans, credit card debt, car loans, or mortgages. It is everywhere around us. So the question of whether debt is good or bad is super important to answer. So today we're going to review the basics of debt and why some debt can be so debilitating and stressful and damaging to your personal financial situation, while other types of debt can actually unlock serious wealth and money-making opportunities. What's going on, everyone? I'm Dave Meyer, Vice President of Data and Analytics here at BiggerPockets and the very hungry, data-obsessed man behind the Instagram account, The Data Deli. And today I'm going to talk to you about what I think is a super important issue. Is debt good or bad? And we all want a simple answer to this. Is it good or bad? Unfortunately, the answer is not so simple. Sometimes debt is good, and other times it's really damaging. So we're going to go into all of this and talk about what situations you should use debt for and which ones you should avoid. But first, we need to do a quick refresher on what debt is and how it works. Debt basically means borrowing money. If you're the borrower, as I'm going to presume in this video, then you are agreeing to borrow some amount of money at some interest rate. So that can look like you are borrowing $10,000 at 5% interest. And the interest rate determines the cost of the debt. The higher the interest rate, the more expensive it is to borrow money. The lower the interest rate, the cheaper it is to borrow. So needless to say, as a borrower, you want as low an interest rate as possible. There are tons of types of debt out there. There are term loans, there are balloon loans, there are student debt, there's revolving credit, there's HELOCs. But that is beyond what we're going to talk about today. Instead, we're going to use really simple examples of debt so that I can just showcase and answer the simple question, when is debt good and when is debt bad? We're going to start by looking at bad debt. To me, bad debt is all about when you use debt to finance a lifestyle that you honestly can't afford. And I think you all know what I'm talking about here. We've all done it. But I'm talking about credit card debt or loans on expensive cars, or in some cases, even mortgages for a house that you probably shouldn't be living in. These are all examples of bad debt because although you want these things, and I understand I want them too, it makes them cost more money than they should. When you buy something with debt, the bank or the lender is charging you for allowing you to buy something that you can't actually afford. And at first, it might not seem like that big of a deal. Oh, I'm going to pay it off over time. But these things have a tendency to spiral out of control and create a cycle that puts you more and more in debt and decreases your net worth and decreases your financial solvency. So I'm gonna show you some quick examples. I created a Excel spreadsheet here with some really simple examples to demonstrate this to you. We're gonna start with one right here that just presumes that you bought something for $1,000 with a credit card at a 22% interest rate. And I know 22% seems crazy, but that's what credit cards charge. Actually, sometimes they're 26 or 30% or even higher. So what I want to showcase here is that, sure, at year zero, you charge $1,000, and if you pay it off quickly, that's all you pay. So that can be great. But if you wait a year to pay it off, you're already paying $1,220, which is a 22% increase on what the cost of those goods actually were. And if you wait all the way to year 10, you're now paying $7,300 for that $1,000 purchase. Let's say it's a big screen TV. I know not many are that expensive anymore, but let's just use that as an example. So for that TV, you went from $1,000 to $7,300 by putting it on a credit card and waiting 10 years to pay it off. And now I know this is an extreme example, but usually people, pay off a little bit at a time. But maybe they pay off a little and then buy something else. Or they pay off all the way down and then some emergency expense comes on and they put it on their credit card. So while this looks like an extreme example, it's not necessarily an extreme example because these things happen. And I made this chart here on the right because I wanted to highlight something, and that is the impact of compounding. Compounding means that each year, that 22% is not charged on that $1,000 originally. It's charged on the higher number. So yes, in year one, we're paying 22% interest on that $1,000. But in the next year, we are paying 22% interest on 1220. So instead of our interest being $220 in year two, it's actually $268. So that's significantly more. And it goes up every single year. Your interest grows and grows and grows. And you can see that on this chart because this is not a linear line. If this was simple interest, you would see this line go up flat like this. It would stay at this constant slope. But that's not. It is exponential because our debt compounds. And so you see this line, it starts to go up and it's going up and it's going up faster and faster and faster. And this creates the cycle of debt that all too many people are familiar with. I'm going to jump over to the second example where you can see what happens when you apply this to someone's budget. So I created this simple example. You're making $3,500 a month. You're spending about $3,300. So you have monthly savings of $200. And let's just say you bought a $10,000 purchase here at a 20% interest rate, which is not all that unheard of with a credit card purchase. Let's say you move to a new city and you need to furnish a new apartment, you need a wardrobe for a new job, you got to do all this stuff, and you put 10 grand on your credit card. So at first you're making $200 in savings, which is great, but look what happens here. Your debt starts at $10,000 right here, and after just 1 month, you're at $10,217. And at the end of 1 year, you're at nearly $13,000 in debt. It's not very good. And that effect on your net worth, which is basically what all of your money is basically. So the way you calculate is that you take all of your assets, so that would be our total savings in this very simple example, and subtract our liabilities, which is debt. And we have our net worth of negative $10,000. And over the course of the year, even though we are saving $200 a month, our net worth, the amount we are really worth at the end of the day, goes down to negative $10,533. And that is just over the course of the year. So I extrapolated this over 12 years. And as we just learned, debt compounds. So it's going to get worse and worse and worse every year. So you might be thinking, oh, my net worth only went down by $500 for this in the year one. But that's not going to stay the same. It's going to continue to get worse. So what you see here is total debt, again, at 12,933. It matches what we have up here. Over 12 years, if you don't make any payments and you allow this to compound, your total debt gets to about $164,000, and your net worth is only negative 161. And this example presumes that you are not paying off any of your debt. So this is the most extreme example. But let's assume that you actually use that $200 in savings that you have every month and apply that to your debt payments. So now our monthly savings go down to zero because we're using every excess dollar we have to pay off our debt. And so our monthly savings go down to zero. But this is actually a better situation for us. You can see that net worth still starts at $10,017, but then goes to $10,172. Remember, it was about $10,500 in the earlier example. Extrapolated over many years, instead of our debt reaching 164, it reaches 129. Still not a place you want to be, $129,000 in debt. So again, these are extreme examples, but this can happen to people. This example that I'm showing you right now is people taking their 200 excess dollars and paying off as much as they can every single month, but they're still falling further and further and further into debt. So I hope this is a good example that you can all see as what happens when bad debt hits. This is debt that doesn't make you any more money. All it does is suck away your savings and damage your personal financial situation. That is bad debt. And the reason that so many financial experts say debt is bad is exactly what I'm showing you. If you are taking out debt to fund a lifestyle, to buy things that aren't going to actually help you at all in the future, then it can be an extremely dangerous game to play. Not only are you not making more money, but these types of loans like credit cards or payday loans have extremely high interest rates, much higher than a lot of good debt. And I understand, listen, a lot of people, all of us have put things they can't afford on credit cards because they need it right now. Or you've gotten a payday loan because you need to make your ends meet. And Everyone starts somewhere, and I completely understand that this is necessary for many, many people. My point in explaining this to you is to try and use it as sparingly as possible. If you have this type of debt, credit card debt or payday loans, pay it off as soon as you possibly can. Use every excess dollar that you have to pay this off, because it can become a worse and worse financial situation for you. So that's bad debt. We want to avoid these types of scenarios. But we also have good debt. And good debt is, in my mind at least, good debt is money you borrow to invest in yourself. And that can come in many different forms. It can be a student loan, it can be an auto loan, it can be a rental property or a mortgage. And I know there are people out there thinking, oh my God, an auto loan, that can't be good debt, or student loans are predatory. And some of those things are true, but hear me out. How about a student loan? If you are going to college, your lifetime earnings statistically are much better than people who don't go to college. So by taking out student loans, you are actually investing in yourself, and you are creating a situation where your income is going to be able to pay back the debt you took out, and hopefully then some. And I'm going to show you an example of that in a minute. But it's an investment into yourself. How about a vehicle? What if you want to start a landscaping company or a property management company and you need a truck? You can't start a property management company without a truck. And so you take on loan to rent a truck to start a business that's going to earn you more money than you make now. That's an investment into yourself. Rental properties hopefully should be pretty obvious, but I'll go into an example of that too. But that is taking on huge amounts of debt to earn cash flow, amortization, property appreciation, and all the other benefits of rental property investing that you probably wouldn't get without taking out debt. So these are good forms of debt. When you take out debt, that is going to help you make more money in the future. Now, I'm going to call up my spreadsheet again here quickly. Look at our good debt. So this is similar to our last example, but what we've changed is our W-2 job now makes us $4,300 a month rather than $3,500. And so that makes our monthly savings $1,000 a month, which is incredible. But we've taken out, instead of $10,000 in student loan, in credit card debt at 26%, we are taking out $50,000 in student loans at 4%. So student loans tend to have lower rates than credit cards. So I'm trying to make at least a reasonable example. And what I want to show you here again is that if you invest that $1,000 that you are creating every month in extra savings back into your debt to pay it off, you will end up with a positive net worth in year 5. And yes, you are starting at a very scary and daunting number. No one wants to be $50,000 in debt. But at the end of year 1, you're already below 40,000. Then it goes down to under 30 to about 15, 5. And then after 12 years, you have a positive net worth of 91,000. And the reason this is because even though the debt amount is smaller, one, the interest rate is lower, so it doesn't compound as quickly. And secondly, your increased earnings that you have from taking out student loans and earning a degree are allowing you to pay off your loans even faster. And this is why it's good debt. It helps you make more money, and it is an investment into yourself. So that's an example using student loans. And because this is, of course, BiggerPockets, I want to use an example of rental property investing. And so I have one here of a purchase price of $400,000. We're going to put 25% down, which is $100,000, and we're going to take out debt of a mortgage of $300,000 at 4% interest rate. And what happens here is the property goes up over time at 2%. That's a very modest appreciation rate, by the way. So over 10 years, your property goes up about, what is that, 22,000? 22%. It goes up about 22%. During that time, you are paying down what you owe the bank. And so your loan balance, what you owe them, it was $300,000. At the end of 10 years, you only owe them $236,000. That's great because you are going to make more at sale. And so when you go to sell this property at the end of 10 years, you make $151,000. So that's incredible. You invested just $100,000 because the bank invested the other $300,000, and you made $151,000. Good for you. That is an 151% ROI, and that is annualized to a 15% ROI Just for the record, the stock market makes 7 to 10% on average. So you're already beating the stock market, and we're not even factoring in cash flow into the scenario. This is just amortization and property appreciation. You're making an awesome ROI. And yes, during that time, you are paying the bank a lot of interest. So the interest comes out to about $108,000 over those 10 years. So that is a lot. It's a hard pill to swallow, but let's be honest. Most people, myself included, cannot afford to just plop down 400 grand on a rental property. After saving for years, I can afford to put down $100,000 and the bank provides me with 300,000. So you are paying them 108 grand for the privilege of earning 151 grand. And yes, you'd love to keep it all, but that's the way it works. And you are still earning a 15% ROI, which is incredible. And so this is just another example of how rental property investing and using debt to buy rental properties can make an incredible difference in your financial situation. These are some examples of good debt. You are investing in yourself when you go to college and earn a great degree that's going to get you a great job. You are investing in yourself if you need material or equipment to build a business that is going to be successful and make you money in the future. And yes, of course, you are investing in yourself if you use debt to buy real estate. And the reason I think this topic is so timely right now is because it has never, ever been cheaper to take out debt. The rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage is hovering around 3.1% at the time of this filming. This is close to the lowest it has ever been and is likely ever to go. And so while it is a weird economic climate right now, think about the long run. Taking out debt, which I've just hopefully convinced you can be really beneficial as a rental property investor at the lowest possible rate, meaning you are going to pay the least amount to take out that debt, is an incredible opportunity, especially if you're investing for 10, 15, or 20 years. Because yes, the economy is weird and there might be some blips or some weird behavior in the next 2 to 3 years. But if you are investing in real estate for the long term, which is what is recommended to do, 10, 15, 20 years, you are going to be very happy to have locked in a 3% fixed rate mortgage right now and use that debt to improve your own financial situation. All right, that is it for me. I hope this video has been really helpful to you. I know this is sometimes a confusing topic, but this is a super important topic. I think people become afraid of debt because they hear about credit card horror stories, and they should be afraid of that. But don't shy away from debt completely. Use debt in a smart and considerate way to help invest in yourself, invest in your financial future, and invest in activities and products that are going to help you make more money in the future. That's going to help you service your debt, and it's going to help you build wealth over the long run. All right, that's it for me. I'm Dave Meyer with BiggerPockets. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next week.